Hi, I am Joshua Vinson, and welcome to another edition of the DH Postgame Show, your number one source for all things Memphis Tiger Sports. Speaking of the Memphis Tigers, there is so much to talk about here at the University of Memphis, from basketball to football. But before we get into that, the women's soccer team won their first ever championship in the American Athletic Conference, so we definitely want to give them a congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now, before we get into football, later I'll be joined with Zack Boyd of WUMR here on campus. We'll talk about everything that's happening with the Memphis Tigers and how they could still, despite the slow start this season, possibly find themselves in the championship game. We're going to talk about basketball, and I'm joined with the Daily Helmsman new men's basketball beat writer, Ryan Brown. Ryan, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Ryan, Penny Hardaway said after the game, after they beat Tennessee Tech, he said, hey, freshmen were being freshmen. They got the victory, but exactly what did he mean by that?
Oh, they missed a lot of shots, especially from beyond the arc. They were 1 for 14 when shooting for the three ball. Issue right here was Tyler Harris. He was 0 from 6 from both the field and the floor. I think against LSU, we'll probably see him do a little bit better. Hopefully. We don't want to see another quote-unquote no-show performance. All right, but a freshman that really did stick out was Alex Lomax.
Yeah.
He had 4 assists, 8 points, 2 steals, and 2 rebounds. So he's doing a little bit of everything.
He is, and as you mentioned, Tyler Harris, he was 0 for 6, not only from the field, but also from downtown. It just was not a good night for him, and he played well over 20-plus minutes. In addition to that, not only were the freshmen not that good, the junior, Isaiah Maurice, he was horrid from the field, 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 1 from downtown, and again, another guy that played 20 or so minutes. So it just was not a good game overall, offensively speaking. If I'm not mistaken, the team shot 41% from the field, but a horrid 6 for 24 from downtown. What did you see from just the team collectively? Why weren't the shots falling from downtown?
Well, it just felt like, for the freshmen, maybe it was the first game jitters. They just seemed like they were missing shots they were normally knocking down, especially in the exhibition games. They were knocking down these just regular routine three-pointers, jump shots, and then they were just missing them against Tennessee Tech. But I think the biggest issue was their rebounds.
Yeah. Tennessee
Tech had a big in Micaiah Hyde who came down with 13 rebounds that game. Against LSU, LSU's a big rebounding team. Having Mike Parks back, as I know Penny mentioned that in the press conference, that could be a big deal.
That's very true. Penny Hardaway did say that Mike Parks will be in the game coming up against LSU. Now, it was reported by the Daily Helmsman that Penny Hardaway and Mike Parks, I guess Mike Parks was going to actually play against Tennessee Tech, but that didn't actually happen because Penny said he couldn't really find no time to really put him in because this game was never really a for sure victory until maybe midway through the second half. Penny Hardaway spoke about his freshmen after the game at Tennessee Tech and said he's not worried about them.
Coach, what was your message to Tyler Harris? He was 0 for 6 tonight from both the field and downtown. What was your message to him and the other freshmen that struggled tonight?
After the game, I just told him to keep working. You got to keep grinding. This is how this game goes. This is D1 basketball now. Things like this are going to happen to freshmen. And, he's worked his butt off his entire life, so I'm sure he'll be in the gym shooting a lot of shots and he'll be ready for the LSU game. But I just told him to just keep working. Trust what you've done your entire life. And I was telling him that during the game, like, you're going to make one. Just keep shooting. Don't stop shooting. Well, we turned them over 26 times, so that's what we have to do to win right now. I mean, anytime you shoot that poorly from the three-point line and then you give up that many free throws and then your turnovers are more than your assists, it's going to be tough. But, we just kept pushing. We just try to believe in our principles. And, Alex, he struggled tonight. He wasn't his normal stuff. I mean, to me, that's just being a freshman. Things like that are going to happen with the freshmen, and I'm sure they'll bounce back.
All right, back here with Ryan and myself, Joshua Vinson. Ryan, you got an article coming out for tomorrow's edition of the Daily Helmsman. LSU, 23 ranked according to the AP poll.
22nd as of today.
Oh, as of today. Okay, thank you. 22nd as of today. How do the guards stack up against that young second-year player, Tremont Waters? It looks like he's just fast, and he was fast last season as well.
Oh, definitely. Last game at UNCG, he had a double-double with 21 points and 10 assists. This man can get the ball to anybody on the court. He has great court vision and will always find the open man. So Memphis is going to have to watch the outside perimeter shooting that LSU possesses.
Outside of Waters, who else is on your radar? If you were to coach scouting report, if you will, who is on your scouting report for this LSU team? Any other players that really? Yeah.
Well, everybody's talking about Nazron Reed, but a player that hasn't been talked about was another 5-star recruit, Emmett Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So far, he has collected 10 boards and 12 points in their season opener, and he had another team-high 15 rebounds.
Wow. So, again, as you mentioned, Mike Parks being back in that, he's not necessarily going to be a starter because Penny Hardaway said that earlier today that he's not going to start Mike Parks against LSU. But do you think Mike Parks being back, how will that impact as far as grabbing boards? Because it seems like LSU is big time at getting boards.
Oh, yeah, it'll be great because that's adding some size because that showed against Tennessee Tech. We just didn't have the size on the court to fight for a lot of those rebounds against their bigs in Mekhi Hyde. I mean, he's like 6'10", 6'9", and honestly, Mike Parks will be vital when fighting for those open boards because LSU, if we give them more second shot opportunities, it could be a bad day for Memphis.
I agree with that. Well, before I let you get out of here, I'm going to put you on a hot spot, Ryan. Put you on a hot spot.
Okay.
Tiger versus Tiger. Penny Hardaway's first road game. Penny Hardaway's first game against a ranked opponent. What's your prediction? Do you have the Memphis Tigers potentially going into Baton Rouge beating the LSU Tigers in the PMAC?
If Mike Parks can come back and show that he's over that back injury that he had, then I think they can really compete and possibly pull off an upset in Baton Rouge.
Oh, wow. Well, you heard it here first, here on the DH Postgame Show. The Daily, thank you again for stopping by. This is the Daily Helmsman men's basketball beat writer Ryan Brown. He said it here on the DH Postgame Show. He's saying that if Mike Parks, who is going to really be that guy, I guess, he's the guy that can give Memphis the edge to win that game against LSU on Tuesday night. Now let's switch things over to football. I'm here with the Sportsdesk, Zachary Boyd from the Sportsdesk. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How about you, man?
I'm doing very well. Memphis won this past Saturday against Tulsa, 47-21. Yeah. They are now bowl eligible for the 5th time. What were some of your takes from this game?
I thought offensively their efficiency, especially on third down, was really good. 8 of 15. On third down conversions. Thought that was a big indicator of how this Tiger offense should have been able to move the ball all year long. Brady White, again, like we talk about all season long, didn't make the big mistake, but obviously offensively he just got into the hands of his skilled guys. He only threw for, I think, less than 200 yards in the game, but threw for 2 touchdowns, and pretty much like most of those targets was going to DeMonte Coxey because nobody was guarding him at all throughout that game. But offensively, they came out, they took care of business, and defensively, I mean, the last couple of performances hasn't been as great, but
that's true.
They managed to get a turnover in the game, fumble recovery from Austin Hall.
Yeah.
But I mean, they gave up 21 points. It's not bad as a starting point, but they can finish the season off really well against SMU and at home against Houston. Hopefully, they might get into the championship game in the AAC.
Which should be played here in Memphis, Tennessee, right? Of all the irony, they could very well, despite losing to UCF early in the season, despite losing to Navy, despite losing to Tulane, right? Despite doing that, this team, if all things play out correctly, they're already bowl eligible, could very well win the West, as everybody expectations were at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And could possibly have another crack at UCF.
Yeah, and that's just
crazy.
That's the crazy part about it, because it's just the way how the season started. You know, you win against Mercy, lose against Navy, win against South Alabama, you lose against Tulane, you win against who's the other team? Georgia State.
And
then you win against UConn, and then you had the back-to-back losses against UCF and Missouri, 2 big games, especially that Knights game, which they pretty much led that entire game. And now you got to the point where, I mean, you just got to take care of your business and just hope that every other team lose their games in order for you to get to the championship game.
Exactly, and back to what you were just mentioning, Brady White completed 14 of his 20 passes. As you mentioned, he did not have over 200 yards, surprisingly, right? Only had 184 yards. But let's talk about John Pop Williams. Everybody was so excited when he did that juke move on that punt return and found himself into the end zone. Everybody went crazy. That was something.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a video game, because you feel like you want to bring out your PlayStation or your Xbox controller and start like using the sticks and kind of weave around the defense. I mean, like this is the type of skill set that he brings. Just that jittery first, quick twitch type of energy out there where he can just make a couple guys miss and automatically he's in the end zone.
Moving ahead, Friday's game, Dallas, SMU. Hard to win in a place like that on the short week. They just played Saturday. They got to travel, go down to Dallas, Fort Worth on Friday to play this game against SMU. Do you see the Tigers winning on the road? Something they struggle with a lot through the season.
Right. And to add to that, SMU just knocked off Houston.
Yes.
And so this is a big game for the Tigers because if they can beat SMU, that's a key tiebreaker heading into that Houston game. Because then, obviously, you got to see what Tulane is going to do.
Right.
But Tulane and Tulsa is going to do. But really, if you can get that tiebreaker against SMU, win that game on the road, you pretty much guaranteed, yourself to either a play-in into the championship game against Houston if everything goes well, like I said, against Tulane, and with Houston losing their game before they play Memphis. But I do think the Tigers can win this game on the road. I mean, granted, SMU really doesn't put a lot of fear in me.
That's true.
They don't put a lot of fear in me. Granted, they did beat Houston at home, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
At home. But they just don't put a lot of fear in me. But the thing that I do, the thing that I am confident about for them winning on the road is that their running game travels.
Yes.
No matter what the elements are, no matter where they are across the country, their running game travels. Having Patrick Taylor, Darrell Henderson, and Tony Pollard mixing in those little jet sweeps and those read option type of runs, that travels. That offensive line travels. You're just hoping that Brady White doesn't make the big mistake. So far, he's been aiming for it. Yeah. He's been on it. He's been aiming for Coxie all year long, and it's paying dividends so far these last few games. I just expect him to keep that up for the next couple of games heading into bowl season.
Yeah, and you mentioned Darrell Henderson, amazing stat there. He is the only other Tiger outside of D'Angelo Williams who has rushed for more than 3,000 yards.
And
he beat himself, actually. Right. That was the interesting thing. It was like he was the third person, then he beat himself to then become the only other Tiger outside of D'Angelo.
And D'Angelo, that was back in 2004, 2005. So you're talking about almost like a full 10 years, 10 plus years
10 plus years, actually.
So, Henderson just been special all year long. Like, again, he wouldn't be special if it wasn't for that offensive line as well.
And he always give credits to them. That's one thing I like about Henderson. You ask him post-game about his stats, he always say, you know what, I have to give credit to this offense, give credit to coach, give credit to this O-line, because without those guys out there, they are the ones who help us out. Well, I tell you, it is going to be an amazing game. Again, as you mentioned, this coming Friday, Memphis going down to Dallas to play against SMU, and what could really just tell us what's going to happen in the Athletic and the Western Conference. Well, thanks, Zach, again, for joining us.
No problem, man.
Again, thank you all for watching us, and make sure you follow us on our social media platforms over at Tiger News. As for now, I'm Joshua Vinson, your sports editor at the Daily Helmsman, alongside Zack Boyd. From the Sportsdesk at WUMR.
Yes.
Said it right on the first time. You all have a good one.